Good morning. I'm in West London this morning, and Max is at the White Hart Hotel. And we were busy gazing at one another a few moments ago, but we seem to have lost one another. So I will try and get Max back, and we will actually go on our merry way and see what the hell is happening in the world today. So I can tell you what's happening in West London, and I was actually surprised because I had anticipated that it would all be sort of quite calm and so on. But on the contrary, the undergrounds were jam-packed. The usual hold-ups of lights and so on, cars tip to toe, the howl of police sirens and ambulance sirens and so on. Everything seemed to be going quite well. So I don't know whether, in fact, I have no idea whether we've got a nice strong signal this morning. I hope that we have, and and we're actually broadcasting to you. It says that we're live, and I'm assuming we're live. Oh, there's Max. Hello, Max. We've done things in reverse by the look of things. So you're there, and you're online.
There we go.
Yes, there we go.
Why are we live already?
Yes. So I'm in West London, and Max is in the usual place, the White Hart Hotel.
I'm in Lewis.
And we seem to be talking to one another. So away we will go. And Max, shall we take a look straight away at the papers, or would you prefer us to go down to Grange Park for a moment?
Let's go straight to the papers. I mean, we'll go straight to the papers. That's the headline. The headline this morning for our title for the YouTube video is "The Ripped Administration."
The Ripped Administration. Well, actually, is torn would be better, I think. The eye
you'll
says
see in the headlines in a minute why we picked that.
What?
You'll see in a minute why we've picked that headline. Why I picked it.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Let's just go to the eye, and then we'll come back to you for whatever you've got lurking in the background. But the eye, Hunter takes charge as the Prime Minister fears the exit. And basically what they're saying is, and the headline all over the place, is that Jeremy Hunt, having been appointed Chancellor, seemingly is ignoring his Prime Minister, has said, what you did this last 2 weeks or so is absolute rubbish. I've got a plan. Here's the plan, and I'm going to put it before Parliament. And it does U-turns almost everything that Kwarteng and Truss had put together in the first 2 weeks of her administration. And of course, the implication is that Jeremy Hunt now is the tail wagging the dog. Well, at least I'd rather have Jeremy Hunt wagging the dog than I would those bunch of layabouts who call themselves MPs and backbenchers, who are just fraught with danger, that they are on their own personal agenda, and the sooner we have them all out of there, the better. So there we are. Now, you're going to tell me why you call it the Ripped Administration.
Yes, well, we'll see in the next headline.
Right, okay. Hunt rips up the Prime Minister's plans in an astounding U-turn on tax. Okay.
It's one of the headlines. I think. Yes, from the Guardian. Hunt rips up MP's plans. That was it. The Ripped Administration.
Right. Okay. Now, astounding U-turn on tax. Let me say this about Jeremy Hunt, because I know just a little bit about him. When he was Minister of Media, Sport, and the Arts, or whatever it is that that combination. I thought he had a lot of foresight, and he brought to that ministry some interesting ideas, all of which were in their turn ripped up by his civil servants. But then, when he became either foreign secretary, he became foreign secretary, I think, for a while. And those who had something to do with him when he was foreign secretary said that he's not a very likable man. He's a very good politician, a smile on his face, but a dagger in his hand. And I think, I don't know what he said to Liz Truss when she invited him to become chancellor, but whatever it was, he's obviously wielded the dagger and not done any of it, and decided on his own agenda, leaving her once more very vulnerable. I am really getting very fed up with these sort of politics. I would rather see us scourge the House of Commons of everybody in it, all 650, and for that matter, half of the House of Lords as well, and start from scratch. And let's get some sort of sound basis, because they are like a bunch of bloody children playing up there. And they are playing with my future and your future, and my daughter's future and your future's daughter or son.
And your business's future.
Absolutely. They're playing with absolutely everything. And with gay abandon. I don't like this. Stamp my little feet. Frankly, I find it very difficult. Somebody said perhaps what we should do is not have democracy at all. And I'm actually tending towards that.
I don't think that's a great idea. I think whilst the current system is flawed that we have, I think it's the best option we have.
Well, you and Churchill would agree. I, on the other hand, tend to go back to the great philosophers, the Greek philosophers, who really looked at governance very, very carefully and laid out all sorts of plans. And Socrates and Plato came to the conclusion that the best form of government is a benign dictatorship. Their problem with it is that a benign dictatorship would be very good, but what comes after it? It may not be, a dictator may not be benign. So when you actually have a transfer of a system, you have a transfer to system, somebody is nasty, is you give them enormous power. But there you are, it's an argument, is your argument that, along with Churchill said, democracy is far from perfect, but it's the best that we have. And I do have a tendency to go along with that. But you know, Max, the point is that everybody says democracy, democracy, democracy. Nobody actually questions it. Nobody actually analyzes it. Nobody looks to see if there is a better system. And I'm getting utterly fed up with this modern generation who don't actually look at alternatives. Oh, it must be so because it's always been so. What sort of bloody philosophy is that, particularly in our leaders? We always need to explore new ways. Always. We're becoming like the Chinese and the Russians. For God's sake.
Very much so.
We're sounding more like an authoritarian rule and red-dominated politics by all the time. Anyway, there you are. I've had my little rant.
Is the next paper down for you, the Financial Times?
The Financial Times is Truss's future on the knife edge after Hunt rips up her economic strategy. Quite often what happens, Max, is that the press are briefed. They don't just scratch around and come across various things. What they do is they talk to aides, their contacts, and so on and so forth, and they get briefed. And I can only think that Jeremy Hunt's people have briefed the press so that they are using this ripped up. And that is a very emotive thing. I mean, it makes it sound as if he's gone into Truss and said, that's it, I've had enough of this, and actually torn pieces of paper in front of her. Well, I mean, it is a headline term. That's not what happened at all. And that's what makes me think that Jeremy Hunt is as untrustworthy as he seemed to be as Foreign Secretary. And of course, he ran for the leadership, and he was very much an outsider. What?
I I really, I don't know a whole lot about him. I know almost nothing about the guy.
Well, he is a consummate politician. I said to you sometimes it's because you are young and to some extent you're idealistic. That the reality is quite different. And let me tell you this: if you shake hands with Jeremy Hunt at anywhere, check your hand to make sure that he hasn't stolen the fingers. He will greet you with a smile and leave you with an arm ripped off. Anyway, where do you want to go from there? Do you want to go to the Daily Mail?
Is Daily Mail the next one? Yes, it is.
Yes.
We'll go from there.
What
I've
it
got
says
the Daily
is,
Mail here.
yeah. Oh, good. The shop wasn't open when I went past it this morning, so I don't have actually a copy. But
What
but
time
I've
did
got
you leave?
on the front page here: in office, but not in power. And there seems to be some truth in that. I think is Liz Truss is rapidly losing control, and she can't fire Jeremy Hunt just after she's appointed him. But I mean, the picture on the front page of the Daily Mail shows the terrific strain on her face. I think she must be under a tremendous strain. And actually, the funny thing is, I am starting to feel sorry for her because all these other bastards who are after their own ideals and ideas and looking after themselves rather than looking after us I wouldn't have any of them around me, not any of them. Not one of the 650 would I have. I wouldn't have them working for me. I tell you, you make a better MP than most of the people in the House of Commons.
I think I would. And, I have actually thought about it before becoming an MP and actually affecting change. But it's just awful. You have to go through the party machine for years to get anywhere. And you have to do favors, and who knows what those favors are going to be. Let's be honest. It can be all sorts, and I don't want to go through all that.
Max, piece of advice: stay a nice guy. Don't become an MP. But actually, there is a lot of truth in the Mail's headline: in office, but not in power. Now, is there anything she can do? I have no idea. Is my knowledge of politics and the systems at Westminster are surface. I mean, I've got probably a better idea than most about the way the things works, but I don't know in detail, and I don't know whether there's anything that she can actually do. I think that it may be that she does have the term Prime Minister, but that all sorts of other people are running the thing. Jeremy Hunt for a moment, but I'll tell you something. If Jeremy Hunt, no matter how wily a politician he is if he doesn't watch those backbenchers, they'll come and they'll bite him in the ass too. It's a very, very bad situation up there, and the opposition don't do any favors. I watched a little bit of Prime Minister's Question Time yesterday, where the Prime Minister actually didn't turn up. I think it was Mordaunt took the questions, and I thought, gosh, do I really have any trust in these people? And I listened to some of the things that the opposition was saying, and it's the old claptrap. It's the old Labour will do this and Labour will do that and so on and so forth. Well, they had a chance. In fact, they've had several chances over the last 2 decades, and they ain't done anything.
Well, yeah.
In fact, if anything, they made it a worse mess than it is at the moment.
You can certainly say the same about the Conservatives right now. I mean, they've had 12 years, and what do they have to show for it?
Yeah, well, what do we have to show from Labour? I mean, actually, Tony Blair's
policies, that's what we have to show.
Sorry?
Tony Blair's policies, that's what we have to show.
Tony Blair was not Labour. He was New Labour. Tony Blair was a Liberal. Right. He was clever enough, and he was tough enough, and he was hard enough to get rid of the far left. Now, what happened then, of course, is that they got the very left wing guy. Who was that?
Corbyn.
Yes, Jeremy Corbyn. And so what they're doing now is that they're coming back with Keir Starmer towards the centre ground, but dragging like a magnet some of those people who are terribly dogmatic left. And they are still very much part of the Labour Party and still offering us the same claptrap. It does not bloody work. As hey comrade, hey brother, as yes, let's give power to the people.
Yes,
which means especially the trade unions. Well, we've been through that, haven't we? Yes.
I've been watching the Labour Party conference that just happened, and they keep calling each other comrades.
Yeah.
It's
that's right.
Awful.
And the trade unions call one another brother.
These people are going to be in charge.
Well,
they're calling each other comrades.
Yes, exactly. It's all very disturbing at the moment, I think, all very disturbing. And while a lot of people simply will not look at us and say, these guys are making much sense, I think, if only the ordinary party members would start to look at themselves, and instead of saying, oh, conservatives right or wrong, what they should do is to say, politics right or wrong, and let's look at the wrong, and then let's look at the right. And they don't actually do that. They are so geared to being a member of the party that they don't look in any sensible way. And if they're not looking in a sensible way, why should we expect our MPs to be sensible? Crazy. The Metro, the Axeman cometh, is, of course, a lot is dependent upon the 1922 committee, the backroom, the backbencher organization, which is very, very powerful. It does. Prime ministers do actually go to it and say, on this or that or the other. Perhaps Liz Truss didn't give them enough credence. I don't know. Perhaps they're waiting to gang up on her. But these individual MPs that keep on briefing the press and giving their own views that's despicable, absolutely despicable. We give our views, you and I and other commentators and other television channels. We give our views because actually what they are their views, and they are not going to alter the destiny of the country. But these MPs are giving their opinions, and they are part of the decision-making process that does govern the country and does dictate its direction. So they shouldn't be appearing and giving their opinion. Let's have them out. Let's have them out. And actually, of course, they're all falling short of calling for an election because apparently one poll gave Labour 480 seats or something, and the Conservatives a rump of about 80. And my God, I'll tell you, we've always said you need a strong opposition, and that Labour wasn't a very strong opposition. But if it actually became the government with that sort of thing, God help us all. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Right, the Axeman cometh is the Metro. Oh, I've just lost lights. I have no idea why, but anyway, it's Halloween. It must be Halloween.
It doesn't look too bad on here.
We'll come back on again in a moment, but you can still see me, I think, even though it's in the dark. What does the Axeman cometh? What does that paper say? The Axeman cometh declares the Metro, referencing Mr. Hunt, shredding of the Prime Minister's economic strategy. The paper says Liz Truss watched in silence and stared straight ahead as her new Chancellor announced the changes on Monday. Right. The Sun. Sorry, Liz sits silent as Hunt rips up budget. The Ghost PM. Oh, that's a nice headline. The Ghost PM. Actually, perhaps that's it. I look like a ghost now in the dark. So perhaps along with the Ghost PM, you've got a ghost co-host here in Hammersmith. There you are. There you are out in the provinces, and everything seems to be working. And here I am in the heart of Hammersmith, just the centre of West London, and the lights go out. Oh, well, there we go. There we go. Right, the Mirror, humiliated. The Tories tell her she can't go on. Silent PM sees her vision trashed. Well, I think that this is all getting far too much. Those people who are doing the trashing are losing my confidence as much as she has. There is nobody that I've got any respect for anymore. They are behaving like a bunch of school. Look, why doesn't somebody stand up and say, listen, no more privileges for any of us. As MPs, we are subject to the same laws and conditions and the same financial restrictions as everybody else, that we have to put in our expenses, etc., to the inland revenue and not to our own committees. Why doesn't somebody restore confidence in everybody by doing that? That's the challenge. That is reform. We can't have reform. And if there's anything else that Liz Truss tried to do, she tried to reform. And politicians will not have it. They will not have reform. It's going to take away their lollipops. But even more, it's, oh dear, the lights are going out all over the place. So I don't know whether it's a power cut or whether the whole building is closing down or whatever.
Is your computer still charging?
Sorry?
Is your computer on charge right now?
It seems to be, yes, it's plugged into, it's plugged in, and so whatever the plugs are working, it's just the lights aren't.
But, well, do you want to get up and change? Do you get up and turn the lights on?
There aren't any switches. I'm in one of those high-rise places where everything is controlled centrally. So I have no option but just to keep going. I'm going to be with you, Max.
Eyes away from Sarah, one of her very favourite papers.
Get rid of this.
Now what's happened?
Okay. That was my fault. I tried to get a clip ready and it started playing automatically.
The sort of thing you shout at me for. Right. Let's just finish off
Yes.
I'm going to leave you, Max, at 9:15. So why don't we just finish the papers? That should take us to about 9 o'clock. And then I see what you're going to do. You're going to bring in the lovely, lovely Sarah Fitch Hayes with one of her art programs. And they are a delight. She is a delight. So a good choice on your part. But the Daily Express, Truss, I'm sorry, we went too far and too fast. That is more of a reasonable look at what she tried to do. As I'm sorry, but I shall be anti absolutely everything that either party does from now on. They could actually give us all £50,000 each, and I would still be opposed to it. I just don't trust them. I don't trust them with our long-term future. I think it's a generational thing. I think that this lot are stupid. I think they came through that age when people experimented with education. They can't read, they can't write, they can't articulate. All they can do is make sure that they can afford bird cages on an island in the middle of a lake in the second home that we are all paying for. That's what they're all about. And they are bitterly defending that situation. And in fact, isn't it funny? Yesterday's scandal is today's acceptance, because that was MP's expenses was in every headline. And then when they decided that they would not pay any attention to it and they would go back and they would cancel the change in the rules, nobody said boo. Nobody said boo to the goose. It is a mess. It is a complete and utter mess. And with all this yelling and screaming and briefing the headlines on the newspapers and so on and so forth, they just make themselves look even dafter than they are already. And they're pretty daft. The Daily Telegraph, we must take decisions of eye-watering difficulty. Yeah, good for you, Jeremy. You take the decisions, boy, because if it goes wrong, you know who's going to be blamed. He doesn't think he thinks he's safe. Oh. Right. I'm hopefully. I just want to make sure that we're. Yes, we seem to be. Everything seems to be okay with the internet.
Yeah, we're still
right.
live. I'm keeping an eye on it.
Good. The Times. Hunt's mea culpa could mean £5,000 fuel bills. Aha. So the Times is beginning to pick Jeremy. Families could face up to £5,000 energy bills from April after the Prime Minister was forced to rip up her economic plans. The Times says Hunt says that the energy price guarantee will come to an end in April. The paper reports that Ms. Truss is fighting for her survival after the U-turn on her plans in one day. The Daily Star, my favorite Daily Star. Lettuce Liz on Leaf support. The PM's salad days are over because her credibility flatlines. Her tax plans and energy aid is an iceberg with a picture of an iceberg lettuce on the front page, and she remains hiding from MPs in party. And the headline is all around.
Remains is spelled as in remains letters. That's quite funny.
Yes. Shall we very quickly mention the?
That's quite funny. I like that.
Very quickly mention the weather. At 9:01 on the 18th of the 10th. It's Tuesday, the 18th of October, in the year 2022.
It's lovely.
Outside, it's going to hit about 17 today. A moderate breeze and not a scattered cloud. So that really is the papers. Why don't we just go down to Grange Park for a minute and catch our breath, Max, and then when we come back, you can decide what it is that you want to play next, and we'll see where we're at.
Okay, give me a moment. Here we go.
Well, here we are back again. So, as they say in one of the television series about the future, here we are. We some lights went back on the corridor, so perhaps they'll reach here eventually. I'm going to hand control back to you. Let me ask you a question. Do we need after this to cease broadcasting for 5 minutes and come back to you, or can you take control from there?
I don't know. We'll find out. If we cut out, I will be back in the next 5 minutes.
Right.
If we cut out, we shouldn't. It should be okay.
Okay.
All right. Would you like to introduce Sarah's show? As it's you and Sarah.
This
was the art show that we.
Yeah, our art expert and a very lovely artist who is very unusual because she paints things like Marmite and Marmite bottles and Coke bottles and so on and so forth. And she comes in once a week and we chat about her art and what's happening in the art world and where we're going and what we want. I think that we have an interview. Good morning.
Hello.
How are you, darling?
All
Lovely to see you. One of my great friends has just walked in, and the lights went on the moment she did. The light goes on in my life whenever she comes in. We're broadcasting live, by the way. So,
I'll leave you to it.
all right. Lovely to see you, sweetheart. Anyway, those things always happen. So Sarah and I have a chat on a weekly basis, and this is the chat that we had just a few days ago. So here she is, Sarah Fitch Hayes. And I forgot what we call this program, Max.
For now, it's just Sarah's Art Show. We don't have a full, proper title yet.
Right. Okay. Where we go.
But all right. Well, thank you for joining me, Keith. And I'll see you tomorrow, back on as usual.
Okay. Super.
Bye.
Toodle pip.
Sorry. Give me it. There we go. Should be.
There's Starbucks, and I noticed another one you got in some other.
Oh, good, blimey, it's you. No, I won't be quiet.
Now, if you've got £1 million, you can just possibly prize away from Sarah one of her very favourite paintings. They are paintings, wouldn't you guess, because we've talked about banana splits, and we've talked about those things with onions in them. What are they called? Hot dogs. And now we are talking about the real infrastructure of New York. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, yeah. How you doing?
Right.
You all right?
Yes, I tried to get hold of one of your paintings. I said, that's a very nice painting, and you slapped my fingers so hard. And then you told me that you wouldn't sell it even for £1 million. Mind you, you did say 1 million plus one.
I think it was just over. It's a penny over. Yeah.
Now, quite often, use American icons for your paintings.
Right.
Why are you so fond of American icons?
I love all icons. Global, anything iconic.
You're not discriminatory.
Oh no, don't discriminate.
Well, we got and we're desperate to get over there to get hot dogs. But can you show us, first of all, what we're talking about, so that I can explain to people, or you can explain to people, I will just ask the questions, of why it is that they're so precious to you?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, I was going to bring the bubble gum today, but because the paint was still wet and you haven't got hot weather, it took a long time to dry, so I couldn't bring that along.
Well, we've got a delight in the making, yeah.
Absolutely. I remember I had an interview with it last week with you guys, and I talked about how tight, can you recognise this building here?
When you say here,
The shadow?
Oh, the shadow. Yes, that's right. Yes, that's the Empire State, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there you go.
Right.
So this was done. I mean, I did this series back in 2006 when I went to New York, and I came back with stacks and stacks of photographs, and that was one of them. And when I actually got the photos home, I looked at it and thought, oh my goodness, there's the shadow of the Empire State Building. It's fantastic. I'm going to be painting that.
It's a lovely angle, if I can use that expression with an artist.
You can. Are you ready for the next?
Yes, we are. We're ready for the next.
Well, this is a night scene. You know, I said about this as well. Do you remember I spoke about these little chaps?
Oh yes, yes.
Very iconic, very
that's right. Please walk and don't walk. I mean, of course, when you actually took those or painted those, we didn't know much about them. Now, of course, we've got those sort of things, but then they were very, very unique to absolutely.
America, absolutely. So there we are. That's nighttime sort of scene where you got the light just shining through and glowing, and this is the hand. You know how it's just stop. That's that there. So that's all Coca-Cola bottles. Look, I had to get the Coca-Cola in.
New York at its finest.
Absolutely. Manhattan. It's just coming. So this is funny. It has.
There's the icon again. Yes.
Do you want to show that to this camera?
Okay, there you go. So.
Now, is that Chinatown, Times Square? Where is it?
It's Manhattan, Times Square.
Right, it's Times Square. Yeah.
It is.
I mentioned the Chinese because one of the areas in Manhattan is Chinatown, and
right,
it's fascinating seeing all those together. But because that painting, that lady looks as if she's Chinese, I thought that must be where you were.
It probably looks like it. It's funny because talking about that painting, I didn't want to make too much of a face on her. I kept her quite bland because I had all the stuff going on in the background.
Yes.
So the idea was your eye to zoom up here compositionally and follow it all around there where all the light and the it was heavy on the face. I think that might have been quite a distraction. So
yes, it is a distraction actually. Yeah. I mean, strangely enough, that your eye is drawn to the moment you look at that painting.
Absolutely, your eyes follow it up, don't they? So I decided to drop her face a bit just to give that composition. This is the other little one. This is Brooklyn. The buildings are more rustic. They're not. It's not as It's more, very rustic basically. So that was good fun.
It's too tall for this camera.
But still very close to the heart. I mean, all the buildings are quite close, even though they're a little older than others.
Yeah, they are. I do remember them being very, very close together.
Yes. Tell me, you get in Starbucks, and I noticed in another one you got in some other Heinz 57 or something of the sort. Do people pay you for that?
For what? For doing these?
Yeah, for getting in their coffee shop or their hot dog
Oh,
store.
they do. If I sell the paintings
right.
in the shop, then I would get paid for it in that way. But with this series, I decided I just loved the series so much. I actually, decided to keep these 4 back, but I have painted similar ones which I've sold. So, but I want to keep these ones. But when we get back to New York, I'm going to make them bigger and glossier and brighter and more vibrant and more varnish.
Yeah.
Really got that gloss.
Well, New York is beckoning, that's for sure. But why the love of New York?
Oh, I think it's a live city. It's lovely. I just love it. It's just buzzing. It's bustling. It's multicultural. It's just got a lot going for it. I love London though. I love all cities, as well as I love the country. So I mean, it's got to be here, there, and everywhere. You know, it's, if someone's got a bit of character and a bit of life and pizzazz, then it's worth being there and loving it. Definitely.
I must say that New York fascinates me. I've stayed in various parts of it, depending on the mission that I've been on. And I think that it's very true that New York has got as many different parts as London has. As I mean, I walked the length of Manhattan and found Chinatown and Little Italy and Soho and it's terrific, isn't it? And we tend to think that they don't have just straight up and down buildings and how dull. But in fact, you're an artist or whether you're an architect, is you find a great deal of pleasure in the makeup of New York.
I do. When I was thinking about all the construction when I was actually painting them, and because Americans, they have the gridlock, they have the grid sort of system, don't they?
Yes, indeed.
See that over aerial view of those here, how symmetrical it just looks. Okay. You can just see how straight they all are.
Yes. Well, it's a straight line city.
But is it the very thin, tall building? What's the name of that? That one's been there for a long time. Flexington building? When it's all squashed and really tall and condensed on the corner.
I'm not interested, to be quite honest with you. We've discovered the Empire State and its shadow.
We'll stick with that then. We won't diverse if you don't wish to.
But I mean, you have explained in previous programs your love of the West Country. Falmouth is it? Yes. And your love of the middle north west, Blackpool.
I've never been to Blackpool, but I've always wanted to go.
But you've painted some stuff from Blackpool, haven't you?
I would like to get some of my work into the Blackpool galleries, but I've never painted Blackpool.
Well,
but I just thought my work would fit in there, the ice valleys and the rocks and the sweets.
Well, when you have, we'll lie and we'll say that you've been going there for years. I actually do remember as a little boy going to Blackpool, just I think for 2 days or something. And the thing that really impressed me was the laughing policeman. That's the one thing that's stuck in my mind. He goes, ho, 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 etc. Well, I'm sure that the laughing policeman is still there because he was so famous. So that you must paint if you go to.
I'd like to do that.
Blackpool.
That would be
Yeah,
fun.
right.
Or Punch and
We're getting a list of things for you to paint.
Punch and Judy? That'd be a good one to draw. Paint.
Hmm?
Punch and Judy?
Oh, Punch and Judy would be another one. I think that they have that at Blackpool. Certainly, that's iconic for Blackpool. But also the donkeys. You know, you've got to ride. Yeah. Actually, Blackpool is full of the sort of things that you like to paint.
I know, that's why I thought it as a theme. I could see my work being really there in a gallery. Or
yes, and you almost got there.
I'm writing.
The donkey actually that was carrying you just faltered at the last.
The donkey's retired back there somewhere in the high street, I think.
Right, let's get down to serious tax here. What have you been doing since we last met?
Well, I've been painting very hard and doing the bubble gum. The bubble gum is pretty much complete now.
Right.
I went to go and varnish it this morning, and the paint is still wet.
Ah. So it stays at home.
Watch this space, it will be here next week. And I'm going to go and get myself a canvas and a bottle of Harvey's, and that's the next one to be put in the press.
A bottle of Harvey's what?
I'm going to find the popular one, I think.
Yeah. Right. I mean, they do have one of the things that in our documentary, for instance, is I'm shown in absolute bliss going into their shop and looking at things, but they have a very interesting series of bottles. I mean, forget hard booze, but I think they have things like Bonfire Boy and Firecracker Ale and so on. I think you'll find a whole host of stuff to paint
Good
there.
for bonfire night to do one, little postcard series, but
Absolutely.
for next year that would be. Next year.
And can I say that Sarah is going to join us on Bonfire Night as a co-host, and with your two sons. Is that right?
One son.
One son. Right. One son and husband. Right.
So two boys, but
Two boys.
One older one and
Yes,
one
yes.
younger one.
When you said two boys, you fooled me.
I did, didn't I? Tricked you there.
And so that should kick off Bonfire very nicely for us, because we will be covering it from about 6 o'clock until about 10, on and off. We did this last year, and it was a very happy time. But I hope that what it will do is give you some ideas too for painting Bonfire, because I don't think you've done much, have you?
Not with bonfire.
No.
So,
I mean, there are some iconic things like the crosses that they carry and so on, which would be very much in your. Yeah. I mean, you do like symmetrical things, don't you?
I seem to, yes.
Yes, you do.
Yes. Very well observed. Well,
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I'll go along with that. Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, I interrupted you because you were going to tell me what you've been up to in the week since we last spoke.
Well, we're going to get a rescue dog in the family.
Right.
We really want one. And do you know what? Last night I was getting the computer all ready to meet her at 7:30. Put it on the Zoom meeting, which I knew had Zoom on the computer. And it just wouldn't load. It just wouldn't. It said install it. So I put the password in. I couldn't get the password to go in. It's so annoying. And then I rang up. I said, help! Help! I can't get in. And then just spent half an hour trying to get this issue fixed. And lo and behold, I just had to email her and say, I can't get in. I've got technical problems, you know. So in the end, we were going to meet up. So we've been dealing with getting the dog and wiring in the back fence of the house,
Right.
just getting it ready so it can't escape anywhere.
Not a bad substitute.
Yes, exactly.
And what's the dog called?
We don't know yet. We're going to decide once we've got everything through on the adoption process. But
Procrastination.
oh no. You have to go through hoops to get one. You really do.
Yes,
It's like,
I understand you do, and I do understand why. I mean, there are so many people that
absolutely.
abuse animals. Are you minded to actually paint the dog?
I will do, yes.
You will do.
Once he or she
Yeah.
comes to
Because I mean, I built you up to be the master of straight, iconic stuff, but straight and not flowery, if you like. A dog has got to be what I would call flowery, no matter what breed.
Yeah, like you're saying, it's got that sort of cuteness about it. It's a dog, and I used to do portraits.
Did
I
you?
did portraits for 7 years.
Well, there we go.
So I did wedding pictures of people, I did their animals, the pets, you know. And I remember once I did these 2 pictures of these 2 dogs. She just loved her dog, this lady, absolutely loved the dogs. And I gave her the picture and she just absolutely burst into tears. And I said, oh no, don't you like it? I'm so sorry. And my heart was going like this, going, oh please don't tell me I don't like it. She looked at it and she just put the picture down and she just hugged me. I love it so much. Absolutely melodramatic. And I was really worried thinking she didn't like it. You know? She said, this is the best, I love it. It's just and that made my heart absolutely just melt like chocolate.
Now you showed us a picture last week of your gallery, or the gallery in which you display your photos, your paintings in Brighton. How is it doing?
Well, I haven't dropped in since we last spoke, so I don't really know if I'm perfectly honest. I'm one of those, you know, artists that pops by. I don't interfere too much, and when I've got the new paintings, I deliver them. Or I just put my head in and go, hi, just very randomly. And I haven't probably seen them for about 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. So I think I'll probably make it about a month or so, just put my head in again.
She doesn't mention the little bits of pieces that are left behind that you never actually show.
Which little bit? I'm curious.
Oh, I know you've got secret little paintings which you don't let anybody see.
Oh.
Isn't that right?
We've got some miniatures in there.
Yes.
There are some miniatures.
There we
yes.
go. You see, I'm always exploring
Minis,
things with you.
little-
Yeah, yeah. See, I've lost my hand there. I didn't know. But now we expect to see those secrets, you see, in future programs.
Well, the mini paintings. They're tiny.
Indeed.
It's
Yeah,
tiny
lovely.
ice creams.
Actually,
Oh,
I think that to be quite serious with you, of all art forms, at least the painted work form, is miniatures are my favourites.
Are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
I somehow I foozle around with miniature railways. I like miniature things.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
miniature paintings have the same tug on me as yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I
So-
shall.
You will.
I will find one, or I will paint one, or do one. Next time I do one,
Right.
or I'll hijack the gallery. Do what I'm going to do. I will show you. That's definitely a promise to the future. Yes.
Right. Okay. Tell us about the gallery, because we like to keep a week-to-week check on it.
it's
Has there been much activity?
I haven't sold anything in the last week.
Yeah. Do they give you some idea of how popular it is?
They don't give you trajectories of what they've done and what they've sold, because I don't think it's any of each other's artists' business of what they
Right.
sell.
They just tell you
So
what,
they
what
just
you
tell
haven't
me,
sold.
or
Yeah.
each
Yeah.
artist, they'll say, "Oh, you sold blah blah blah,"
Right.
and that's as and when you sell. So there is absolutely no news on the gallery, if I'm totally honest.
Right. Now, what we've talked about is your paintings outside my favourite paintings of yours, which is food. What's in your mind's eye, or in the pantry, or in the kitchen, that's about to be painted, or has been?
Okay, well, we did the Marmite. We talked about the Marmite. That's all looking good. And I have to say, I think it's going to be that Harvey's bottle.
Ah, yes, yes.
That's going to be, I'm going to buy 2 bottles of Harvey's beer, and what I'm going to do with one of them, I'm going to paint them. And the other one, I'm going to crack the bottle and let it go swing out.
You're going to paint somebody actually swigging the bottle.
I don't know about that. It's not a good brand label, is it really?
But tell me, when you start to think about things that you paint, and you said, yes, I mean, we chatted about Harvey's bottles and so on. What goes through your mind when you actually look at something and say, yeah, that would be something that I really want to paint?
I think something looks bold. Something that the thing I think about, I think I can imagine it being on a wall. Because I did the Brighton Rock, and I look back at it, and although I do like the Brighton Rock, I look back at it and think it looks a bit one-sided. You know how you said I like symmetrical.
Yes.
And I think what puts me off. I mean, I love the painting; it's a great painting, but the one side of it's got like the wrapper, and the other side's got the actual rock emerging out the packet. So to me, I keep looking at it and think, it's a bit off kilter. It doesn't look too symmetrical. So something quite symmetrical I like. So I'm looking really forward to just doing a nice, bold, shiny, nice Lewis Harvey's label on it with a nice brown and shines on it. I'm really.
Yes.
I was going to try and shake the bottle up and see if I can get a shot of the bottle oozing over the top of it, all the bubbles.
That would be rather
So
nice.
that is going to be the one I'm going to swig at. That's the one I'm going to. Let's see if I can get the bubbles over the top
Oh,
of
you're
the
going to have three. One to paint, one to shake up, and one to drink.
That's very true.
I mean, when you walk into the hobby shop,
Mm-hmm.
Do you actually look around and say, gosh, there's a plethora of things here
Oh, loads.
that I would like to, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you could spend
absolutely.
days and days
Oh,
and
I
days
could. It's
there.
like,
Yeah,
Ladden's
yeah.
Cave. It's like
Yeah.
where you go to. I just love those bold, iconic shapes. Especially because, I mean, Harvey's, how long has it been established? 18?
It's 1790.
Oh, 1719. Right.
Yeah.
So we're talking about hundreds, well, 2 centuries or
Yes,
pretty
we are.
much.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah,
amazing.
it's very old, very
Yeah.
ancient. Yeah.
So that's very vintage. And as I like painting vintage things, it's going to be very apt, isn't it? Although it being a model bottle.
Yeah.
I asked them if they've got any old-fashioned bottles lying around.
Oh, actually, I think they do.
Do they really?
Yes, I
Oh,
think
wow.
they do. Miles Jenner is very keen on the history of the brewery,
Mentioned this.
and
yeah,
he keeps things like that. I think so. It's worth the ask anyway. Yeah.
I'm going to ask. I'm going to call you later and ask you to email me Miles's email.
Yes. Okay.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
I will. I think that actually it's a very nice mix or match, you and Harvey's, because they have an enormous number of things there that you would like to paint. Now, that's me having got to know you, the sort of things that you like. I think that you would find, oh gosh, this is exciting. But one of the things that I'm not sure about is the saving of Harvey's, if you like, is the spring that they have.
The spring.
The spring. Their beer comes from a spring. And I'm not quite sure.
Okay, and welcome back. I'm sorry that was not very good quality. I mean, it was perfect quality on my end, but checking on the camera here, it was awful. There's lots of technical issues. I'm not going to go into it. That should be sorted out. I need to wipe this computer and get everything on memory cards to save storage. It's a full up is the issue. Anyway, I have here with me Stuart.
Well, yeah.
He wandered in about 20 minutes ago, and you had some interesting stories. You had a Energy Matters story, but we will save that for tomorrow. But you did have a local story. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I could do, yeah.
So, do you want to go into it?
Well, yeah. On Friday, my wife, who was as old as I am, we're both 78, she actually tripped over on her way to Waitrose, and she's hurt herself very, very badly, and she's bruised in her face, and that's it, and she's felt very traumatized by it. What happened the fact is that if you can't turn left out of Waitrose, then left again, there's a small pavement along there, and some of the flagstones are very badly laid, and like one of them is like a little mini seesaw that it goes up and down, and she tripped over that and really hurt herself. There were three witnesses. One was a nurse, a male nurse. His wife was a social worker, and their daughter was a Sussex University undergraduate. And they said, look, you must take action against this. So I didn't know who was accountable for the pavement. Was it the town council? Was it the district council? Or was it the county council? Well, after very some investigations, I actually, with help from the Liberal Democrats, I found out that it's probably the county council that is accountable for these very bad pavements, which are a menace because little kids can go over them, old people can go over them, and they are very dangerous. And a former barrister, a friend of mine, said, well, back in the day, when in the bus station, there was a person who had an accident of one of the grills that they had there, and he was awarded £5,000 compensation for it. So I thought, hello, I better have a word with my lawyer about this. And it seems that, yes, we could go to the small claims court, or we could actually take on the county council. My wife says, look, what we really want to do is actually not try and get the money out of anybody, but just ensure, and I must say my Liberal Democrats are helping with making sure that the county council actually attends to this problem, because it's not just that flagstone that's over the place. On my way home to pavement is potholed. This is dangerous for people like us who are old. We've got to dance around it like a belly dancer, and we're not able to. It's really quite unsafe. So we decided that with my friends we would actually call the county council to account and get a guarantee from them that they are going to do something about these very, very pavement situations, and we'll see what happens. And I'm actually doing it now on the television just to get wider publicity for what the problem is, and and how it should be resolved.
I've tripped over quite a few times, but I'm young and I won't fall over. I'd catch myself, or
and then you just bounce back.
or I just stumble,
or
I've fallen over a couple times around town, slipping on things and over.
Well, you couldn't have been drunk because you don't drink.
No, well, I don't drink very much. No, but no, I do. I've fallen over twice in Lewis from pavements, but it's just ouch, that hurt. Anyway, and I just continue on with my day. If I was, how old's your wife? 78?
Yeah.
Then yeah, I would be a little bit more upset.
Yeah, it is a problem. It's just unbelievable. There we are paying all this council tax and God knows what else. We can't get safe. We can't be safe. Yeah. Well, it's an issue that ought to be addressed. Anyway, let's put it that way.
It is, yeah.
Well,
But
do you want me to talk about the energy problem?
we could save that for tomorrow. In 15 minutes, we have Suzanne Musho joining us, so that'll be good, and possibly Jane Watkins. So yeah, we might have 2 people in about 15 minutes time. I sent the emails out, so it should be all right. But I've got the Daily Mail here, and their headline I think is very interesting. In office, but not in power. Talking about Liz Truss. I think that's an interesting headline. In office, but not in power. Do you think that's true?
I think so.
I think that's true of all governments,
I
if
think
I'm
that
honest.
Jeremy Hunt is pulling the strings now. I think he's actually put her in her box and says, you know, he runs the show now. Yeah. But then again, she went on TV this morning saying that she intends to lead the party into next election. Well, that's 18 months away at least. No, I can't see it happening. Can you?
No, I can't.
Not with all the mistakes she's made.
And even if it does come to that, she's not gonna win.
Well,
Can they call an emergency election?
well, if they get enough people, enough MPs to agree. I can't remember what the threshold is. Is it about 50 or something? I can't think.
Oh, more than 50. It's
Yeah,
650.
Yeah,
I think.
no. Yeah, it might be 100 or something. I can't remember what the threshold is, but you need a certain number of MPs to actually want an election. Yeah, I can't remember what the threshold is.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you saw this, but Just Stop Oil protester, a woman throws soup over Van Gogh painting.
Yeah, that's very what. Yeah, what is that? I vaguely know what it means. What's it about?
Some woman threw soup for a Van Gogh painting.
Yeah.
For Just Stop Oil, for climate protesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that the Extinction Rebellion, not?
No, it's the Just Stop Oil people. So same people, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they seem to bloody protest just for the sake of it, don't they? They go around, you know. They're sort of full-time protesters, basically. Oh, isn't that?
They have nothing to do, and of course she's got pink hair.
Yeah.
Of course she does.
She does what?
Of course she has pink hair, I said. But destroying priceless artwork because climate change. It's ridiculous.
People are not doing enough of that climate change.
I don't know. She just threw soup over a Van Gogh painting because it's a way of getting attention to climate change.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is that these protesters, they alienate people. It's like Extinction Rebellion.
Absolutely.
You know, alienating people who are trying to get to work. And then they shoot themselves in the foot, don't they?
Yeah, my mum's a Green Party voter, and she hates all of this. She thinks they're annoying. They get public hate. They mess everyone's day up, and they just look like idiots. And especially the Just Stop Oil people. What would happen if you just stopped oil?
Really?
Just stop oil. Just stop it. Just stop doing it.
Well,
What would happen if you just stopped oil all of a sudden?
Well, we'd be in trouble, wouldn't we? We are dependent on oil, whatever the people like. All right. And as I keep saying, I've been saying for years, right? I've been writing about renewable energy for all these years, and I'm convinced there simply hasn't been enough investment in renewable energy to meet the energy mix.
Yeah.
And also, Dieter Helm, Professor of Energy at Oxford University, and Liza Watsett, has the same opinion. And the fact is, he thinks there has to be a bridge a gas bridge to meet the energy mix. Gas being the least of the fossil fuels, carbon emitters, right? And that is the case because, all right, they're all now talking about huge investment now in wind farms and all that kind of thing. But it's a bit late in the day, Max. It really is, isn't it? This investment should have come earlier. But, it didn't arrive. As I say, when I set up Greenbow, okay, people weren't that concerned about climate change. And fossil fuels seemed cheap and abundant and not threatening. Right? And we set up Greenbow, and companies would come along with a very good idea like marine current turbines and so forth and so on. They would go to the exchange to get money to prove up the project and then overcome regulations, that kind of thing. And of course, after all their money had gone, they went bust. So the investment didn't come. We had 50 companies writing now, and now it's been reduced to about 36 because these companies have gone bust. So the investment hasn't been there. And it's quite close. But now,
I think everyone agrees that there's not been enough investment, and that's just a.
I don't think everybody does agree, actually, because they're told.
Who doesn't agree?
Well, people who now are told that we are investing huge monies in renewable energy. We're putting all this cable. We're doing this on solar. It's late in the day. It's really late in the day, and not many people realise that there hasn't been that investment.
And with that, people are getting turned off by the climate change issue, like myself. I don't care about it really. But people are getting especially turned off by these Extinction Rebellion people and not just the oil people. They're idiots. Like, if you just stopped oil all of a sudden, genuinely, you say a lot of, we would be in trouble. But no one really knows, no one really speaks about what that actually means if you just stopped oil.
Hello there.
Morning.
Morning. What do you think about climate change?
Sorry?
What do you think about climate change?
What do I think about climate change? It's too late to do anything about it.
Quite right. That's what we were just saying.
I don't think it is. I think we've got plenty of time. I think it's overblown.
No, we've had. Well, I'm 56, right?
Right.
So you've had 56 years to get it right, and they still ain't got it right. And they're making it worse.
Well, actually, you see, people weren't very concerned about it until very recently. I mean, for example, right, when I set up my website about investment in renewable energy, there were polls, and 20 of people, only 25% said they were worried about climate change.
25% of the population.
All the people polled.
Right. Oh,
yeah, right. And the reason was that it was like, look, an emergency, right, is a catalyst for a change, right? The Second World War brought in all kinds of innovations like Morse code and so forth and so on.
Yes.
The thing is that climate change is not considered an emergency.
What are you talking about? It's always, everyone's going on about, oh, it's an emergency, it's the end of the world. What do you mean that's not an emergency?
No,
people constantly going, it's the end of the world, it's the end of the world.
It's like the electric cars. We've always had electric cars.
Yeah, we've had electric cars since 1910.
Yeah.
You know, so if they were that
it's just the only reason they're popular now is because Elon Musk created Tesla and made electric cars cool.
Yeah.
Before that, they were very boring. They were Nissan Leafs.
Yeah.
They weren't interesting, and then it got regular people interested in electric vehicles.
No, look, the fact of the matter is that there isn't the urgency about climate change that you would think there should
I've got
be.
to show as soon as that.
Yeah. There is not the clean of urgency. There's not the realization, because one of the way to be like do it another day, we do it another day, and so forth and so on.
No, it's not, because for the last 60 years or whatever, there's always been those weirdos going, we've only got 10 years left.
But look, if you compare that with the Second World War, it was urgent because we were getting killed, right? Now, in this case, it's going to take a long time for climate change to actually wipe us out, you know. So there, people can't be bothered. Well, it doesn't matter, you know. We'll do it another day. You know.
Is it
that
going
kind
to take a long time?
I think it's taken longer than it should have done.
Do you think it'll happen in my lifetime?
What? Climate change?
No, like the well, not quite, but the
I
severe.
don't think it is an existential threat, but I don't think it will wipe out all of the human race.
Obviously not.
I don't think so.
And the people saying that just are ridiculous. And I will say, the absolute worst ones are the brainwashed people my age who say, I won't have kids because they're just going to die from climate change when they grow up.
Yeah.
They are brainwashed into thinking that.
Yes, but you see, it's there is not a sense of urgency about climate change. It isn't, because it's too complex for a lot of people. You know, they can't see how, like, there are floods, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there were in 2000, before climate change was even invented, this place was flooded out, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But that was.
So these things happen, so you can't.
Yeah, but that wasn't climate change.
Well, I know that's exactly what I'm saying, Max. There are these extreme weather things that are not due to climate change. But that one is a case. Then another, you know, you've got these. Can you ascribe, say, all those forest fires in Australia down to climate change? Because perhaps it was just their climate.
But they've been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Quite so.
Same with Florida with the
Yeah.
hurricanes.
Yeah.
That has been going on for hundreds of years. It's a regular thing. Once a year, you get a massive hurricane.
And that's why there's not the interest in climate change, because it says, oh, it's not extreme weather. This has always happened.
Yeah.
And that is the problem. So that's why people won't take the idea of climate change urgently.
Well, I will
Because these
agree
things
it's
are-
getting hotter.
Huh?
It is getting hotter.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
Yeah. But then, you know, they reckon that if they surpass the 100 degrees, then it's really going to be very difficult. It's up to 2,000. Isn't it?
150 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I think it's 150, isn't it?
You're talking Fahrenheit.
I think what is the level they can't 150 something. 200 would be really.
So the sauna I go in every so often can go up to 120 degrees.
Yeah.
I've been in that when it's 120 degrees. It is awful. It's the worst.
Yeah.
But it's livable. I don't know livable, but you can stay in it. But for how long, I don't know. But no.
No. I think the point about the warming, if it goes up, it goes over. They hope that they can keep it to 150, don't they? Yeah, 150 degrees Fahrenheit.
So
If
what
it
would
goes
that would
up, if
be?
it goes up to 200, they reckon that really is going to.
That would be
over.
50 degrees
Yeah,
regular.
more. Yeah.
But no, in this country, that would be degrees in the actual way of calculating it. That would be about 50, 60 degrees.
Yeah.
But I mean, we had 41 this summer. That was lovely. I was swimming at the beach in Brighton that day in 41 degrees.
Well, it weren't 40 degrees in the sea, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't, but it was sure nice. I mean, I spent 2 hours in the ocean that day. That was fun. I enjoyed that. So, I mean, I'll be doing the exact same next summer.
Well, I don't like the extreme heat. I don't like the extreme cold.
I like the extreme cold.
Yeah.
I would love to live in like Iceland. You know where I would. I don't know if you know the country. Do you know Svalbard?
Yeah, I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, I would love to live there.
Why? Because you get the thermal heat.
No, that's Iceland where you get the thermal heat.
Yeah,
Svalbard
you
is
said
the
Iceland.
most. No, I said Svalbard, the country.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's the most northernly permanently inhabited place in the world. It's freezing cold.
Well, I think a lot of people would like you to go and live there then.
But obviously you don't get... In the summer, you get 24-hour daylight or 23 hours or whatever. But
Listen, mate, you get that in the Shetland Islands.
in the winter,
Yeah.
in the winter, it's 24 hours of darkness.
When I go to the Shetlands, at midnight, I can sit out reading a book. Yeah, seriously.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're right. And then, of course, it goes very, very dark. And I think, I don't know, you probably remember Hammond Innes. He's a fantastic novelist. And he did a what's it one about travel. And he said that if you go out to Shetlands or northern streams of Scotland, you get very, very tired because it's too light. Then you get very, very tired because it's too dark. It's right weird. It's very fatigued staying up 24 hours in the light. It's fatiguing. So,
Yeah. Constant. I've never been, so I don't know what it's like, but I can imagine it's very odd and strange to be in.
it's quite weird, yeah.
Sorry for yawning. We'll go to Grange Park for a minute for a breather. So here we go. Right, and we're back. So, Stuart, do you want to explain about what's going on with this new energy cap?
Amongst all these sort of things that, all the news items about will mistrust survive or may she not. The news that the forced energy cap that Liz Truss set is going to be curtailed from 2 years. So he said that we're going to have a energy cap of 2,500 for 2 years. It's now being curtailed to 6 months just to get people through the winter. Okay? What that means is that after the 6 months, they return to martial forces. The energy cap would go to something like £3,500, which, as we have discussed before, means fuel poverty for an awful lot of people. And what people don't know was that at one time, the energy cap was set twice a year, on the 1st of October and the 1st of April. And all of a sudden, I think Ofgem, whose boss earns $310,000 by the way.
A year?
Huh?
A year?
Yeah, 310,000.
310,000.
30,000. 310,000.
Well, that's not horrendous.
It is 300,000. It's a bloody good salary.
I know, but
what you've got to understand. Well, this is another point. Okay, let's continue about this, right? So first, then we got the energy cap, because it's energy cap going up to 3,500, and then in January it's going to go up to 4,000, right? 4,200, because that's what market forces dictate. And then one of the think tanks called Cornwall Institute or something like that, they said, well, if late 2023 it could go up to 6,000, which means energy bills for most people at 500 quid. Well, that's not fuel poverty; it's total destitution. Yeah, but and also what you've got to remember is that the energy situation is this: that there is a cartel of 6 energy suppliers. 70% of the population get their energy from the 6 members of the cartel. And the cartel actually uses a lot of the money it gets from the public to pay themselves unbelievable wages and pay a load of money to the shareholders. Whereas the investment that should be going into improving the products or helping the poor don't get a look in. So it's a very terrible bloody situation. These cartels just seem to ride like Rothschild over the off-gen people and just charge what they like. It's your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were supposed to have 2 people join me today. I don't know if they're turning up. So I don't know what I'm doing for today. Have you found any other interesting stories recently? I mean, in the second page of the Daily Mail, they have a story here saying "Bring back Boris"
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
or face re-election.
Oh, look at this, honestly. Old hand steady the ship while humiliated captain stays below decks. Oh my god.
What is this?
Play out of time. Well, they can have a silly thing like that.
What was this?
We're talking about trust and old hand steadies the ship while humiliated captain stays below the decks. People seem very, very amnesiac about when Mr. Hunt was actually health minister. He was absolutely ravaged from left to right by people saying what terrible things he was doing, you know, not paying the doctors enough, not doing this, not doing that. So he's not he's not a steady hand at all. He ran to win for Try 2 occasions, didn't he?
Mm.
Yeah, but like unfortunately, like Keir Starmer, he's got a charisma. Bypass. People don't know who he is. Jeremy Hunt, who's he? Who's he? Which Hunt are we talking about? Oh dear, oh dear.
Oh goodness.
Now, you've got to be charismatic to become prime minister. You've got to be a star, you know.
How's that working out? You've got to be a star to be the prime minister.
Well, you can see where, you know, at least Boris is not boring. He's got
No,
lots
he's
of
not.
faults, but he's not boring.
No,
And he's very
I said this earlier. I am very. Oh, why is this showing up? Give me a second. There you go. That's. I don't know why that happened. Sorry about that. I said earlier that, as you know, I'm very conservative, more conservative than the Conservative Party, which are useless.
Yes, I've come to realise that you are to the right of Genghis Khan in your political views.
Right, Luke. Okay, but I hope Labour wins.
Oh, good.
Because I think it's about time. I mean, look, the Conservatives have had 12 years, nearly 13 years. And what do they have to show for it? They have nothing.
Well, you've got to remember, you know, when Macmillan was Prime Minister, there had been 18 years of Tory rule.
Really?
Yeah, 18 years. Until Macmillan sort of had what was it, prostate cancer or something, and had to shut it in. And then, of course, Mr. Wilson got in by a bloody finger, by a shred. So, you know, this whole argument that the Conservatives are the party of governance, but
well, Boris did win in a huge landslide.
yeah, yes, it did, but that's because of the reasons I've just said. Because, you know, he's charismatic. And everybody, and also,
And I've just been watching the Labour Party conference,
yeah,
and they call each other comrades.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But
Of course
still,
it is,
still, I think they should win. I think the Conservatives should have a horrible, embarrassing defeat to a bunch of
yeah, but
communists
you've got to,
because they need time to reset
obviously, look,
themselves.
the red flag stuff is just a legacy from people like Corbyn and all the rest of it. But Blair changed all that because he was a neo-conservative, basically. He wasn't a socialist. He wasn't anything like a socialist. He was a neoliberal, wasn't he, basically?
Yeah.
He was closer to the Conservative Party than he was to the Labour Party in some issue.
And I think Boris is closer to the Labour Party than the Conservative Party on some issues. I think.
If your basic policies are one nation, one nation party, then you can get away with it.
Basic policies like not raising taxes. Oh, I did that.
Well, they're a vote catcher, aren't they? By reducing taxes. Well, what? Well, how many years has it been since they allowed income tax to be always be flat? 20 years?
Income tax should be abolished.
Why should?
I think most taxes can be abolished. I hate tax. I hate it. The government is useless. I don't want to give them my money.
How to run the country without an income?
Well, it's difficult, sure, but other countries do it.
Like who?
Oh, well, some of the Middle Eastern ones. Dubai.
Well, for God's sake,
I know, but they're
rich. Incredibly rich.
A lot of states don't have not income tax, but state tax. In America, I think there's about 10 states that don't tax you.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what they do is they get rid of income tax, but use VAT, value-added tax, a lot more. But I think there's a lot of useless government spending. I just don't want to give the money. I just don't want to give my money to the government.
Well,
useless,
right.
No matter who's in charge.
Right. If you don't give your money to the government, right?
I get arrested.
No, the NHS, right?
Oh, yeah.
Why, if you're not paying money to the government, why should you have NHS availability, right? Why should you not have free education at school? Because all those things that you get, free education to school, but not to university, I would agree. But NHS care, care, and all kinds of other things. That's because the income comes from income tax. That's where we get our money, because it's the major tax. And people pay that because they get something in return, or should get something in return. Namely, healthcare, and basically other things. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
But you see, this is the thing about Scotland, for example, where the issue there is that there's only 5 million people, so they don't get much revenue. So they're flipping the string, and they're actually dependent on money we give to them, basically.
Scotland are dependent on us, yeah.
Yeah. And their deficit is twice what the English one is. Basically.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because of the free schooling. Right.
Yeah.
All
right.
Well, they spend the money on schooling, right, which we don't, basically.
No.
Well, no, we don't.
Well,
Well, you know what in England is, the best education you get is the one you pay for. The one you don't pay for is funded by the state.
Yeah. Well, I think we are going to go to Leslie's People now, art show that we have an episode of. So it's 10 minutes long. We'll play that so we can get a breather and find some more stories. So we will be back in a bit.
These business people.
Welcome
to Leslie's People, and the painting we're bringing alive this week is Norman Baker. Norman has been for a long time the MP locally, but he had a career outside of politics, and an interesting one at that. Norman, one of the things that we know about you is that you are a digger for information. You're a terrier, and you were very keen on the very strange case of Dr. Kelly.
This is 2003, and this was the famous government, soon to become famous government scientist, who was involved in working on illegal chemical and biological weapons, not just for Britain, but for the world. And he was then roped into the government's tissue of lies, which we had, the false documents, dodgy dossiers, which were produced to justify the Iraq War, which misled Parliament and led to the deaths of British soldiers and a great many more Iraqis in what I regard as an illegal war. And Dr. Kelly, who was an expert in these matters, had significant doubts about the veracity of these dodgy dossiers, which were in part written by Alistair Campbell, made that plain to Andrew Gilligan in an off-the-record discussion at the Charing Cross Hotel in London, and then well, all hell broke loose because Andrew Gilligan used this information in a broadcast early on the morning on the Today programme. The government then went into full overdrive, and Dr. Kelly was forced out. His name was forced out. Well, then subsequently, very shortly afterwards, he was found dead in the woods. Curiously enough, that's a phrase he'd used about himself some months earlier. He was found dead in the woods in what were suspicious circumstances. However, within a couple of hours, literally, of his body being officially found, a public inquiry of sorts had been established under Lord Hutton. Lord Hutton had been identified as the right person by members of the government. He had been spoken to. He'd been found in his office in the House of Lords on a Friday morning, most curiously, because nobody's there on a Friday morning. His terms of had been agreed, and the whole thing was then announced by lunchtime. Well, of course, that meant that the scent of the press was directed towards this so-called inquiry, which was due to take place, and away from Dr. Kelly's death. And the inquiry, I use the word lightly because there was nothing of the sort, when it took place, largely focused on the government and the BBC, and poor Dr. Kelly got barely a look in. Now, when this was all happening, I thought, well, you know, why is nobody looking at the death? This is a man who has died in suspicious circumstances. And we still have to tell you, 18 years on now, nearly 18 years on, there's been no inquest. This is absolutely disgraceful in this country. Whatever you think happened to Dr. Kelly, everybody who dies in suspicious circumstances is entitled to an inquest. There's been no inquest on Dr. Kelly's death. And apparently, nobody seems to be that bothered about it. So, in 2005, 2006, when I saw the way the wind was blowing and that nothing much was happening about Dr. Kelly, and I looked into matters, I was contacted by a number of doctors who said it is clinically impossible for Dr. Kelly to have died in the way that it was described. And the more I looked into it, the more distasteful and suspicious the whole matter became. The so-called Hutton inquiry was nothing of the sort. It was a non-statutory inquiry. That means that nobody was there giving evidence under oath. Nobody was compelled to come and give evidence at all. The key police officer investigating the death didn't appear or was never mentioned in the inquiry. Dr. Kelly's best friend, Maya Pedersen, who knew all about Dr. Kelly, was not invited to give evidence. People who were giving evidence didn't do so under oath. A whole lot of contradictions arose in the limited evidence there was. At one point, I think it was the pathologist was asked, would you regard the death as likely to be suicide? I think that was roughly the question. And he said something like this. I haven't got the exact quote in my head. It's consistent with suicide if you ignore all the other facts. So what did Lord Hutton say to this? Did he say, what do you mean by that? No, he said, thank you very much. That was the end of the evidence. That's the kind of inquiry it was. So what I did in my political life, Keith, was I went round looking at elephants in rooms, and I said, there's an elephant over there, why is no one talking about that elephant? And nobody was talking about it. I think the press really failed lamentably in this whole episode. They didn't look into it at all. What's their job? They're journalists. They should investigate matters. They investigated nothing. They were led by Alistair Campbell, and they followed his story absolutely. And the great thing about 2003 that really shook me was the incompetence of the press, because they failed to do their job properly, and the government got away with it. And at the end of it, as you know, Gavin Davis, the BBC chairman, resigned. Greg Dyke, the Director General, resigned. Andrew Gilligan was pushed out of his job as a reporter, and yet they were all basically right. And who resigned from the government? Nobody.
Now, obviously, the powers that be swung into action very quickly, and whether the press was lamentable or not, they obviously were subject to pressure. What pressure were you subjected to?
Oh, well, I mean, as soon as I decided to write this book on Dr. Kelly, I invoked the Daily Mail, and the Daily Mail was very supportive. It ran stories with me. It finally serialized my book, including, I think, 2 front pages of the Mail. And I did that not because it was just useful to do that, but I did it because it gave me some protection. Because if you've got the Daily Mail on board, then people think twice about what they do with you. So it was a measure of protection. So the Daily Mail was very supportive. And I got, I think, I've forgotten how many it was, several thousand emails and letters from constituents and non-constituents right across the country, mostly non-constituents, including about 50 who offered new information, including about 15 who were connected with the police and security services, who were happy to tell me things. And I met some of those people. It was a very interesting experience for me, apart from anything else, to do that. But you know, in terms of what I had, that minimised it, I think. But I had an episode in my office just around the corner from here, actually, just along the road, when one day my office manager's computer, which was the main computer in the office, came up with suddenly came up with a notice saying your computer is having its files deleted, and within 10 seconds it's completely dead. I got the police involved in that actually, because that was quite serious. They had no idea how it could have happened. It was investigated by the police over at not far, just beyond that. I've forgotten the police headquarters is just beyond there, but the special headquarters there.
So you did have things go bump in the night.
Well, you never quite know whether things could bump in the night or you hear things. I mean, I like to try and stick to things I'm definitely sure about, and I'm definitely sure about the computer.
You had a very distinguished career in Parliament, and when you were quite a young spud, you set some sort of record which always makes me chuckle.
Well, I set the record for the most written questions, and I asked more questions, I think, I think it was 3 weeks, and Tim Rathbone asked in 23 years or something before, I can't remember the exact figure. I mean, to be honest with you, I probably was not as selective as I should have been. I had so many things I wanted to campaign on when I got elected, and so many things I thought were wrong and wanted action. I was hugely enthusiastic, and I just went at it all guns blazing. And I think in retrospect I should have been slightly more selective, but you know, that was a novelty and the enthusiasm of a young new MP. But yes, I mean, I think parliamentary questions were and are a very underrated tool. They're a way of getting information out that written questions that otherwise don't appear. And particularly before the Freedom of Information Act came in, it was really the only way you can get information out of the government of the day. And if people say, well, written questions terribly important. It depends what they are, because, for example, one of the questions I asked, which was terribly effective, was I asked the government to list the percentage increase in cost of travelling